What's up everyone, Opie here, and today we're going to be learning how to create this loading button. When I click here, you can see the spinner comes up for a few seconds, then it disappears. So let's jump in. Alright, so I'm in VS Code. I've got the HTML file that I've named index, and I'm just going to start by creating a div with a class of wrapper. And inside of this div is where we're going to put our buttons. So I'll give the button an ID of btn, and I'm just going to put loading button in here. Alright, there we go. So now I'm just going to create a style sheet. So I'll call it style.css, and I'm just going to link that in HTML. So link, and the href will be style.css. Okay, so in our style sheet, I'm just going to paste the font we're going to use, which is Poppins, but you can use any font you want, doesn't really matter. And here, I'm just going to style the wrapper. I want the button to be right in the middle, so I'll give the wrapper a display of flex, justify content center, align item center, and we need to give it a height as well. So I'll say a height 100 viewport height, and everything will have a font family of Poppins. Okay, and actually I'll just copy this and put asterisk, just paste that in there. There we go. All right, just remove that here as well. Next, I'll style the button. So I'll say btn. I'll give a background color of green. I'll remove the border, so border none. I'll give a font size of 20 pixels. And I'll add some padding to it. So 0.75 rem on the top and bottom, and 1.5 rem on the left and right. I'll make it white as well. And for the border radius, I'll say 0.15 rem. And I'll add some transition to it. So transition 0.3 seconds. Cursor of pointer, and a position of relative. Next, I'll style the hover. So when we hover over it, I want the background color to be a darker green, so dark green. There we go. All right, so now I want to start creating the spinner. So I'll say btn after, and content will be an empty string. I'll give it display of block, width 1.2 rem, and height 1.2 rem. I'll give it a position of absolute so that it's relative to the button, and I'll say top 27% and left 43%, and I'll give it a border of 0.15 rem, solid, and I'll make it transparent as well. All right, so I'll give the border on the right a color of white, and to make it round, I'll give it a border radius of 50%. And I need to animate it as well. So I'll add animation, and I'll call it animate. It'll be 0.7 seconds, linear and infinite, and by default I'll give it an opacity of 0 so it doesn't show. Alright, and I'll add the keyframes down here for the animate that we created here. So keyframes. So I want it to spin. So from transform, rotate 0 to transform, and rotate it 360 degrees. Okay. And let me just remove it just to see what it looks like. There we go. You can see it spinning. I'll add that opacity back. Okay. So next we need to create a class for when we click on the button. So I'll say btn, and the class will be called loading, right? And we want the color to be transparent, and we'll style button loading after, so the spinner, and we want it to be an opacity of 1. Okay. All right, so next we need to have it so that when we click on a button, the spinner shows for a few seconds and then disappears. So for that we need JavaScript, and I'm just going to open and create a JavaScript file. And first of all we need to get the button. So I'll say const btn, make it equal to document.get element by id, and the id was btn, so I'll put that in there. Okay. Next we need to add an event listener so that we listen for a click. So I'll say button.add an event listener, click, and it'll be an empty function with some arrow function. And here I add some comments that say show loader on button click, right? So when we click it, we want to add that class we created. So I'll say class list.add loading. Okay. And if we issue there. Oh, I need to link the JavaScript file we just created. So script source app.js. Okay, and if we click, there we go, we can see the spinner. All right. Next we want it so that after 3 seconds it disappears. So here I'll add some comments. Hide loader after 3 seconds. Right, so we'll say set timeout, which will be an empty function, with an arrow function, and I'll say button dot class list dot remove. So we'll remove that loading class, and we need to set the time here, and I'll say 3000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds. So now if we click, it should show for 3 seconds and then go back to normal. So that's it for the video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.